Recruiting trails are starting to get hot. In today's world, recruits mean more than ever. So I found three guys that I believe that we should focus on as Mountaineer Nation to try to get them in the old gold and blue. Let's talk about those guys. Let's go. What's going on, guys? Bradley back with Country Roads Webcast. And before we get into this, I just wanted to give you guys some context of what I've been going on with the system I've got for keeping up with our recruiting from now on. So I created our own Country Roads Webcast recruiting tracker, and it's something I'm going to try to work on a little bit more than make available to everybody that wants to see it. And it kind of takes a step back and looks at our team from a senior, junior, sophomore, freshman perspective. And I think that that's important so you can kind of see where we stand numbers-wise, kind of like what the coaches are looking at. And I think by taking out those individual things, names and such, and individual expectations and performances, it allows us to get a better picture of just where we stand at as a team. And so, how many do we have in each position? Where are we trying to fill holes at? And through that, this has really allowed me to see where they're trying to plug holes on the defense. Wide receivers right now we're recruiting pretty hard, and it's really been really interesting to look at our team from this perspective. So that's where I found these three guys from, and kind of where I'm coming from that point of view. So I also put together a recruiting map because I think that's something that's going to become even more important is recruiting guys from the same area. I know pipeline states have always been a thing, but I think it's become even more important nowadays with how football has become. You're going to need a really good culture and a really good program to not only get guys to want to come here, but consider coming here for less money than they might make at another school. So I think that's going to be pretty important going into WVU's future and recruiting future. So these guys, these three guys that I'm going to be talking about, I think all have a good reason to want to go to WVU, seem to enjoy WVU, and we've got a chance to really make a pool for them if we can work it the right way. So the first one I want to get into here is Ruben the Hurricane Bain Jr. And the Hurricane is a 6'3" strong side defensive end from down in Miami, going down there and try to get some of those Florida guys again. We've really been recruiting that area a lot. We seem to like the areas of Miami, Florida, South Florida defensive boys, and Georgia, some of the Georgia guys. And we really seem to like how they like to play defense, so we've been recruiting those areas pretty hard. Actually, I think the two defensive guys I have on this list are both from Miami and Georgia. So the guy is an absolute monster. He's lean, he's mean. Like I said, he's 6'3", so he definitely stands out on the field. And even at a larger size, he's cemented himself as an elite edge rusher, and he started to get national attention because of that. He's gotten recent interest from schools like Alabama and Pitt, and he's already getting he's already visited Pitt, but he's getting more love from Alabama and his homestay in Miami. And so those are going to be two really tough programs we're going to have to compete with. Like I said, he's really enjoyed his time in Morgantown from what I've seen. He's probably enjoyed his time there as well. But I think we've got a chance if we can see him get back on campus around fall ball, or maybe even get him down for a game or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what the time limitations are from when we could talk to kids. So I think that we definitely got a chance to go down there. Still another one from Miami. And I think he'd make an immediate impact. He almost makes the game, you can tell he's a bit quick for high school football right now. He seems to just make every mistake the defense makes, he makes it worse. And, I mean, every mistake that the offense makes, he seems to make it worse. He just really capitalizes on poor play, and when he is playing a good elite talent, it seems like he's playing with a really good fundamental football and still makes plays. So he's a guy that I think is going to come in. His body's probably going to change a little bit. He's going to get a little leaner, a little stronger. And if he can get any stronger than what he is right now, then he's definitely going to be a name to know 2-3 years from now when he's tearing up offenses wherever he goes out in the country. The next one I want to talk about, since we had defensive end, I'm going to focus on defensive tackle now. And this guy, I'll talk about why I picked these two guys specifically for those reasons. But this one's Joel Starlings, and this is a guy I've kept up with a lot on Twitter. I love the guy. He seems to be really fun. He's really having a great time with his recruiting trail right now, which a lot of these kids are. But he's visiting a bunch of schools and just getting his name out there. We have made his top 12, which is big news here recently. But he is an ESPN top 300 guy, so he's 264. And he is an honest to God, he's a must double team kind of player. If you don't double team him, he's going to tear up the inside of your line, and he's going to make himself known. And at 6'4", 310 pounds, he just, when he steps on the field, you notice him. It just pulls your eye. He did recently tweet out this, which says, "Our class of 23 is looking intriguing." And that was after we got the commitment from Cameron Calhoun, a 3-star defensive back from Ohio. He has been showing a lot of love to Oklahoma, Virginia Tech, and UVA, but he wants to cut his top schools down to 8 in May, and I expect WVU to make that cut. I think he's going to really enjoy it here, we'll give him kind of closer to home. We won't really be playing any of the Virginia schools, but that might be a guy that we see come down for the WVU Virginia Tech game. Since those are 2 schools that he's interested in, why not? It's right there a couple hours south of him. I expect him to show up to that game, which would be huge. So winning that game, even more important. Also, the reason why I focus on those 2 guys on defense, the defensive end and the defensive tackle, and why I believe these are 2 guys that we should invest in, is the fact that those positions seem to flourish underneath Jordan Leslie and just the defense that we've made ourselves known for since Neil Brown's been in here. And even before that, no, because defense under Holgerson was awful. But yeah, at least under Neil Brown, our defensive line has been elite. And so I think they're trying to keep that going because that kind of gives us an identity of, tough front line football, that our front is better than your front. And I think if you go a couple years back to one of the videos that we did, I said that the future of the Big 12 right now is going to end up being defensive ends and defensive tackles because the quarterback play in the Big 12 was just so good. And I think that's one of the biggest counters to great quarterback play is great defensive line play. You look at the NFL right now, it all comes down to who has the best defensive line, who has the best offensive line. So it's very similar right now in the Big 12, and that's because their quarterbacks are playing pro-style football. So yeah, that's why I wanted to focus on those 2 guys, because I think that if you see them, somehow we pull them into this program, Neil Brown gets them to commit, those are some guys that are going to be future fan favorites, and we'll be preaching their names for years to come if we can get them to stay. And that's an important part looking at this going into the future. This last guy I want to talk about is the big one. He really is. I think he's the probably the top guy in Neil Brown's class this year, the gem that he wants, the absolute game-changing player that everybody thinks he's going to be, future first-rounder, and I think that that's Rodney Gallagher III. This is Rodney Gallagher III right here, and he's a 4-star recruit, 4-star recruit from Morgantown's own backyard there in Union, PA, and that's one reason that we've kind of been on his radar. And he's a 6-foot-tall, 170-pound wide receiver, and he's closer to being under the top 100 than being at 150 in the top 150 right now. He's special. I mean, absolutely special. And he's been getting a lot of attention recently from big name programs like Notre Dame and Ohio State. And again, those are big competition and schools that they're going to be tough to compete with. And he's planning on visiting them, I think, in a couple months. But he was just in Morgantown at the beginning of April. He came with some of the strong women in his life, and they looked great. Looked like they were having a great time. And a big reason why I think that we have a chance to get Rodney Gallagher III that makes us special is the fact that Rodney Gallagher III was also a top 100 basketball recruit in the country. And he was kind of scoping out schools to see if anybody would let him play both sports, or if he wanted to talk about both sports, they would let him. Which are some of the reasons why Ohio State and Notre Dame didn't really talk to him, because I think they wanted him to either pick one or the other. And so he got really close to Bob Huggins too, and he really liked Neil Brown when he first came in. And I think that kind of show of loyalty and love to him early on is going to go pretty far for us. But also, in the end, he is an elite talent in the country, and like I said, he's probably going to be a future first rounder. He's got the potential and the talent. Everybody's so excited about him across the country. It's probably going to come down to NIL money. And this is something that I kind of wanted to talk about here at the end of the video, is how I think we should start approaching NIL money. And I think that these are 3 guys that we should offer money somehow, some way, guaranteed up front to come to school here. And I'm not in that world of how that would work, whether it would be through guaranteed endorsements or becoming a university employee maybe and being paid that way. But I think that it's going to be important for us to start thinking about that, because other schools are doing that. And it's difficult and it's uncomfortable, and it's going to bring up an uncomfortable conversation with the guys that you have already. They're like, well, we didn't get paid to come commit here. We came commit here because we love West Virginia University. It's like, you did, and you do, and we're going to give you a great education for it. We're going to treat you like family, and we are going to try to make you better and get you to the NFL so you can make your money. and like we're going to do everything we can for you, and that's why you should stay with us. And we're going to get you all the small NIL deals we can get. We're going to try to get some way to get money in your guys' pockets just for being so good to us and staying around through the program. And I think that's going to be very important for a school like West Virginia University going forward. We're going to have to make these guys feel like they're at home and make them want to come to us, and then just hope that we can get them over the top with NIL deals. And we've done a good job of building that family brand, and that's the kind of brand that Neil Brown wants to bring. And so we've got to kind of hope we can convince these guys like Rodney Gallagher III. He could go to Ohio State, get paid $1 million, and still go to the NFL, or at least might have a better chance of doing it there. They put more guys in the NFL. Or he could come to somewhere that he really loves, and we can offer him a lot of money. I mean, more money and a trip to school, no payments. Like, it's going to be mostly just in his pocket, and still promise him we're going to get into the NFL, you know. And I say that coming from the perspective of we've yet to prove that. Neil Brown has to prove that. If he wants these guys to come, it's going to come down to the program, how it feels to be in it. It's going to come down to wins. Who's going to put me in the NFL? Who's going to let me be on a part of a winning team? And then who can also help me out financially at the moment. And I think that that's why these three guys, we're probably going to have to put up money up front and just tell the other guys, listen, we're sorry, but we've got to start somewhere. It's got to start 1 year or the next, because if we keep pushing it off, it's just going to put us farther behind. And that's the last thing that West Virginia University needs right now, is to be farther behind in the game of football. And so I think that through the Country Roads Trust, I would like to see them start offering some of these kids this money. And like I said, I know it's tough, and a lot of people are going to disagree with it, but I just think it's how the world is right now. And if we want to try to compete, then it's something we're going to have to do, at least until the NCAA can kind of like manage a better way to do it, if they even decide to. So these are the three guys that I think that will actually prosper incredibly well if we invest in as Mountaineer Nation. So if they get here, we'll have to buy up their jerseys, make sure we can do everything we can to keep them here, and that's just what it's going to take. But if there's anything I can trust in, is when Mountaineer Nation wants to get behind a team, they do. And so we raised $100,000, and that was after a losing season, just because like a wonderful fan put out there and donated $60 and I got a chain going. And that's incredible. Doing that during the losing season, phenomenal. And so if we can get some of these guys that will truly make a difference in, and invest in them, invest in ourselves, then when Mountaineer Nation, when WVU starts winning, like I think they will under Neil Brown when he gets his system in there. I think he's going to have a winning season this year. I think he's going to do great. And so if he can get these kind of guys in there, then these are the kind of guys that are going to be the next Tavon Austins, the next Edmund Baileys, the next guys, the next Pat Whites, the guys that you're going to remember for the next 20 to 30 years, because those times are going farther and farther behind us. And if we don't start making an effort to get some guys like this right now, then I think we're going to be hurting. So these are my three guys that I think will be future fan favorites of the Mountaineers, and how I think we should get behind them. Also, if you guys wanted to check in on that, last thing right here, if you guys wanted to check in on that spreadsheet, let me know if you guys want to see it, if you want access to it. And I really appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. I know this is a little bit serious ending here, but these guys are fun to watch. Go follow them all on Twitter. I'll have their Twitter tags up and stuff like that. It means a lot to these kids. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let's go Mountaineers.
I don't want to see your face up close. I just want to get the grades. See, I'm in damage control.